Okay, today's Q&A. On your first 120, you have Mike, barbecue, houseboat, and rebbing. So this is 120 Q&A, number one, for 5 minutes. Ready? Let me make sure I am on the same page with you on your testimony. Your husband and his friend Mike consumed a 12-pack of beer on this fishing outing, and so when you came back to the landing there is no beer on the vessel. Is that correct?
Yes.
Can you tell me for certain, as you sit here, whether or not your husband had any more than 6 beers?
No, I know that's all he had.
So you're sure that's all he had, and his friend had the other 6 beers?
Yes,
How did the motor run that day?
I think it was fine.
Did your husband, while you were in the boat, run the motor wide open to your knowledge?
No, I don't really know.
Do you recall the motor missing any or having any problems?
A little bit. It sounded a little off sometimes.
In addition to these people that were attending this barbecue, did you see anyone else on the water that you all knew that day or that you knew that day?
No, not that I can remember.
When you say the motor was missing a little bit, when was that? Was it at the beginning of the trip, the end of the trip, or when?
I believe it was when we were coming back to the landing.
And what was the motor doing?
It just got real sluggish, like it didn't want to go very fast.
Who operated the boat to this houseboat where you stopped?
My husband was driving it then.
And who operated the boat from the houseboat back to the landing?
We all took turns.
Coming back to the landing from the houseboat, you all took turns driving the boat?
Yes,
And when you say we all took turns, who are you talking about?
my daughter, me, and my husband.
How about your husband's friend Mike?
No, I don't think so.
Did you make any other stops that day other than at your friend's houseboat?
No,
What time do you reach the landing when you return from the houseboat?
it was around about 4:45 or so, I think.
And when you reach the landing, do you and your daughter get out of the boat?
Yes, and I think Mike got out too.
And when you all get out of the boat, what do you do?
My daughter and I went to the restroom
Where is that restroom located?
right off the dock there at the landing.
How about Mike? What did he do?
He went and got the truck.
Does he back the trailer down in the water?
Yes,
Did you at any time ask or request or instruct that your husband let you all off at the landing?
no,
Did your husband ever engage in any activity that day while operating the boat and gave you any concern?
could you rephrase that again? I'm not sure I know what you mean.
Sure. Did your husband ever engage in any type of activity while operating the boat, such as making sharp turns, revving the engine, operating it in such a fashion that you were concerned about the way he was operating the boat?
He was trying to clear it out, clear the motor out.
This was after you got out of the boat?
Right.
Okay. I'm not talking about during that occasion. I'm talking. Okay, you're 120, number 2. It continues. You have Mike, Mr. Peters, barge, and tugboat. This is 120 Q&A number 2 for 5 minutes. Ready? All right. You have no recollection of telling anyone at the boat landing that you had requested or instructed or asked your husband to let you out of the boat, given his erratic behavior while operating the boat?
No,
You never made that comment?
I can't recall that.
Well, did your husband engage in any type of erratic behavior while operating the boat with you on it and your daughter on it that gave you any concern?
No, not that I recall.
Do you recall making any statements or comments to your husband that day about the way he was operating the boat?
I can't remember.
Do you have any recollection of telling your husband to slow down while you were in the boat with him?
I may have.
But you can't say one way or the other.
No, not really.
When your husband dropped your daughter, yourself, and Mike off, did he drop you off at the dock, or did he pull up on the bank and let you all get off? Where did you get out of the vessel?
At the dock.
He just pulled in front of the dock and let you all out. Is that correct?
Right.
While coming back to the boat landing, did you all see this tugboat and barge that Mr. Peters later had the collision with?
Yes.
You all passed it up coming back to the landing?
Yes.
Approximately how far away from the landing did you pass this tugboat and barge up from the landing?
I'm not sure.
I believe your husband testified that after he dropped you and your daughter off, that the motor was missing and he ran the boat and motor back and forth on a couple of occasions, and that took about 15 to 20 minutes. Would you say that that's accurate?
Yes.
How soon before your husband dropped you and your daughter off at the boat landing did you all pass this tugboat and barge coming back to the landing?
Maybe 15 minutes.
And when you were coming back to the landing, do you recall passing up this tugboat and barge to its right or to its left?
We were on the left.
All right. So as you are approaching the tugboat, which is pushing the barge, you overtook or went around the barge and tugboat on its left side?
Yes, I believe so.
While at the landing, did you see anybody that you knew?
Not then, no.
So you didn't see anyone else you knew?
Before the wreck or after?
Well, let's right now focus on before. When Mike is backing the trailer down, you and your daughter are standing there. Do you see anyone else that you know?
No.
Now, did you actually observe your husband running the boat back and forth in the canal?
Yes, we would see him pass by.
And where in the channel was he doing that? Was he doing that on the public boat landing side of the channel, or was he doing that on the opposite side of the channel?
The outside, I guess it was. I mean, I'm really not too familiar with the place down there.
All right. Let me make sure that we're on the same page. When you were observing your husband running back and forth, would he have been on the east side of the channel running back and forth here, or would he have been on the west side of the channel running back and forth?
I guess that would be the west.
Okay, so he was on the west side of okay, and this is your 100 Q&A number 1. You have Willis, Shell, Burgundy, Mexico, Merritt number 2, Mexico Street, Mr. Chambers, Mexico Street, Ford, and Randy. And that's it. So this is 100 Q&A number 1 for 5 minutes. Ready? Ma'am, let me show you a photograph that I obtained from Willis's claims department. Does that look like the gas station where you obtained gas, or actually where you were pulling up to get some air that day?
Correct, it does.
In the background of the photo, we've got the Shell station, correct?
Yes,
Does this look like the intersection near where the accident occurred in the foreground?
yes, that's Burgundy and Mexico.
The photo shows an entrance or exit way into the gas station.
That's correct, it does.
Is that where you pulled out of prior to the accident?
I believe it was the other side.
The other side?
Right.
Do you know what intersection this Merritt number 2 would be?
This is Burgundy and this is Mexico Street.
So could this photo possibly be taken from Mexico Street looking towards the gas station?
Yes, that's exactly where it is.
But apparently you're telling me that this photo doesn't show where you pulled out of from the gas station?
Right. I believe it was right here.
You came up Burgundy?
Right.
What direction would this be that I'm pointing in? Would that be north?
That is south, heading towards the river.
So you pulled out of the gas station and started heading south on Burgundy?
Correct.
Then you made a left-hand turn?
Yes. I signaled here and made my left-hand turn to head down Mexico.
Mr. Chambers would have been coming up towards the gas station on Mexico Street.
Yes.
There's a stop sign for traffic on Mexico Street where this intersection is.
I'm not sure if there's a stop sign.
I'm not either. I'm asking. Do you remember?
I'm not positive. I believe I had the right of way.
Did you have a yield sign or anything in this median area of the intersection? Do you know?
On Burgundy, no, I did not have a yield sign.
So you pulled out of the gas station, started heading south on Burgundy, correct? And made a left-hand turn to go straight up Mexico Street. Is that correct?
Correct.
What happened at that point?
When I signaled and started to make my turn, he never stopped and he caught the back end of my car.
When was the first time that you saw the car that was involved in the accident with you that day?
When I stopped in the intersection of Mexico and looked behind, turned to see. He kept going and stopped on the other side of Mexico.
What type of car are we talking about that was involved in the accident with you?
He had a Ford.
Do you know the color?
It was white.
Do you know his name?
Randy.
He was driving at the time of the accident.
Yes.
Was anyone else in the car with him at the time of the accident?
He had two other people in the car.
Do you know who those people are?
No.
Can you? Okay, your second 100. You have Florida Avenue, Georgia, and Carl. This is 100 Q&A number 2 for 5 minutes. Ready? You were waiting to hear the horn blow?
Correct. I was waiting for that.
Approximately what time of day or evening was it?
It was midday. I really couldn't tell you a time.
Approximately in the morning, at noon?
I really don't remember. It was like morning, noon. It could have been 12. It could have been 3.
In any event, your mother did not live at that residence address,
No, she didn't.
but as far as you knew, she drove that car?
Yes, that was the car she drove.
She arrived at the Florida Avenue address,
That's correct.
blew the horn.
Right, that's correct.
You knew she was coming. Did you go out to welcome her?
I certainly did.
Is there a driveway?
Correct. There's a driveway.
What exit would you have gone out of?
The side door. We have a front entrance and a side entrance.
You went out the side entrance?
Correct.
Would you have been carrying a suitcase,
I did have a bag.
a duffel bag, or something?
I might have even carried my suitcase. I believe it was my big bag, though.
Where was your sister at the time?
My sister? I don't know.
I thought you were going to visit your sister.
I also have a younger sister.
What I thought you said was your sister was in Georgia.
My older sister was in Georgia.
You were going to visit her in Georgia?
Yes, that's what I said.
For how long?
I believe we were going for maybe 4 or 5 days.
It was just you and your mother who were going?
Correct, just the two of us.
So you went out to where the automobile was?
That's correct, I did.
Was your mother in the automobile?
Yes, she was in the car.
When did your father appear on the scene?
I got in the car and shut the door. He immediately came out and said that she could not take the car because he needed to get it serviced. And she replied that I am taking the vehicle.
You're sitting in the right front.
Correct. In the right front seat.
Your mother is behind the wheel.
That's correct. My mother is driving.
Is the car running? Do you understand what I mean by running?
Yes, it was running and in park.
The engine was running, but the vehicle was parked.
Correct.
He says, "You're not going to take the car because I'm going to get it serviced." And she declares, "I am going to take the car."
Correct. That's correct.
She's got her window rolled down.
Correct. Her window is rolled down.
So then what happened?
Oh, I wanted to bring tapes because it was a road trip and I had them upstairs. Immediately, I said that I was going to get my tapes.
You've got to talk a little bit slower. This is a very talented lady, but you do talk fast.
Okay. And Carl comes over sometimes to visit my father.